Okay. Yeah. Oh, bump in here this way.
Right. You're going that road, eh? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You watch me count this because I've been up all night. 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 90. Don't worry about $2.
Okay. Been up all night.
Yeah, I work nights.
Where do you work?
I do home health care.
In River Falls or?
Nope, right here in town.
Oh.
Yep. I'm old and I take care of the old.
You work for REM or not?
Nope, I do private. I'm private.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the only way you make money.
Oh, really?
I worked for Little Lock for 30-some years. But we didn't get paid up there. And that's okay. I love the ladies, so. But I started doing I quit working 2 years ago up at Little Lock. And I get calls all the time for home health care. You can always, and I do it myself because then you know, if you go through a business, they charge $40 an hour, pay the woman that takes care of them $9 an hour.
Yeah, my wife's grandma, they had a whole bunch of kids, but one of the daughters lived in Woodville, with like 2 blocks from Grandma's house, and she was on the state aid of like help. She didn't need help like to live, but like to do the laundry and so the daughter got paid like $15 an hour to go down there to her own mother's house and you know do the dishes and clean the house.
Yeah, it's I've been doing this for a few years. But this she pays out of her own pocket. You do home health care, and if you get paid on your own without a company, you usually gotta find somebody that's got money.
Yeah.
You know.
But like, there's a woman that works with my wife at the same place, and her kid is something happened. He's a paraplegic or whatever, and he's got some other health mental issues, so he's got to get paid. She's always on the internet looking for somebody.
I know. I get messages. I'm 71 years old. I'm about ready to slow up.
Yeah.
And I get messages. The last message I got, text message, was from somebody in River Falls that it was a doctor's mother that they wanted somebody to take care of.
Oh.
And I just, you know what, this lady lives in town, just right up Piety, and it's, you know, I'm even taking care of her more than I want to, but the money is so good. It's just, and she's really easy. Actually, her dog is more work than she is. She's got a 15-year-old dog that drives me nuts. But as long as you take care of the dog and you just sit and watch TV with her and fix her lunch, she has Meals on Wheels, so you don't even have to cook.
Oh,
She has a cleaning lady, so you don't have to clean.
so you got to be there all.
She gets 24-hour care.
So like right now, nobody's taking care of her.
Oh no, there's a lady there now.
Oh,
From 8 to 4, and then one comes 4 to 10, and then I do like 10 to 8 in the morning, 10 at night till 8 in the morning.
oh,
So yeah,
oh.
it's you know, I always tell these young people, these young girls, if you want to make extra money, that's the way to go. But you know, a lot of people don't want to do that stuff.
I had a customer in here now that I've had her for customer for years, but she worked down at the cannery, and she was in the shipping department. She quit a few years ago. Now she's she runs like a house in Hampton. There's like 4 elderly or not
Yeah, no,
elderly.
they if they run the house, they make more money
Elderly.
than if you just work there. Yeah.
And she's got like 4. She says they're like in their 50s.
Yeah.
It's all guys, I think.
Yep. If you manage, you know, when I worked at Brodalock back in 30 years ago, and the first job I got there, I worked every weekend because I had a job in the cities. I worked in the cities for 14 years, but I just worked there Friday night and Saturday night from 11 to 7, and I had 12 people in the house. So.
Oh,
And then they started passing laws that you could only have
so many.
this many and this many. And now each one has to have their own bedroom. You can't have. When I worked there with 12 people, I had as many as 4 people in one bedroom. But they each got to have their own bedroom now.
Oh,
You know, and I don't know if I agree with that or not, but it's. I love the ladies. Most of them are gone because, like I said, it's 30 years ago I started. You know.
yeah.
But. There's money in healthcare, but you can't find people that want to work weekends.
Right.
And you can't find people. It takes an old person with no life to work nights. You know, that really is.
You can't find anybody to work anyway. My wife
No, you
works
can't.
my wife works at Treasure Island, and they're the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yep.
That's their time.
Yep.
I mean, every day is their time, but like
But that's the big.
they have concerts on the weekends,
Yep.
and so like getting time off on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you forget it. My wife has Sunday, Monday off, but when she started there, she had Monday, Tuesday off.
So she's full time.
Yeah, and then she got lucky and got to pick, a different time. And she wants to work Saturdays because she did the room service.
Yep.
So when they had before COVID.
So tips and stuff.
So it's I think it was 17% of the bill. She runs up to the room, and it's automatically gratuity 17% plus the tipper.
Okay.
So she was, and then she was waiting on Rod Stewart. She put food in his
Rod
room.
Stewart.
And who else?
No, Reba.
Reba. She hung up on Reba. She hung up on her twice, and because it was out of
What?
time.
Okay.
And so she hung up because the room service was over at like noon.
Okay.
And
So they actually have hours for room service.
yeah, it's whatever till like noon or 11 in the
Oh,
morning.
really? I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, then they started up at like 2 in the afternoon for like people getting ready, to have pizza.
So I think they, especially for.
And then she waited on the whole 3rd floor of the one hotel was what's that black girl? Jan Jackson.
Okay, Janet Jackson.
She had the whole
Super Bowl, yeah.
and so then she's got like big carts of food and goes up the elevator, and it's the bill's like $500-600 in food, and then she got 17% plus. They give her.
But the deal is, that's funny you say that because your wife wants to work when the money is there.
Right.
But a lot of these younger people today, I get $20 an hour
Right.
to sit and watch TV with this woman.
Right.
And let the dog out.
Right.
There's no lifting. You help her get dressed. She has cocoa wheats and coffee for breakfast. That's all she has. She has Meals on Wheels, so you don't have to fix lunch.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can't find anybody on weekends.
Yeah.
And sad to say, a lot of the young people that do start there, they don't show up. They don't.
That's how it is down there too. My wife.
It's that way all over.
Yeah. My wife last year there was a concert. We had 3 waitresses calling sick.
Yep.
And my wife's been in this business that's all she's ever done since she's 55. And so they said, she's like, I'll stay because they have one restaurant open right now, because the buffet's
Yeah,
closed.
I go over there all the time. I mean, I was just thinking today, I thought, oh, maybe I should get up in the middle of the night and go to the casino for a while tonight. Because
And so they couldn't leave. I mean, she could have, but what are they going to do? You know, we're short 3 people. So she was like, well, I'll stay until 8 o'clock. And then after 8, when the concert starts, so people get out to go wherever to the concert. But they still got so much cleanup.
and there should be a bonus for people that stay.
Oh, she gets well.
She does get a bonus.
And she gets overtime and stuff, yeah.
She does, yeah.
And she gets. They treat her pretty
Because I know I know a gal that works at the Hudson. She works at the assisted living in Hudson,
well.
and she said that when in 1 month there was like 200 shifts that weren't filled.
Yeah, I got a customer. She was on.
I can't remember. It doesn't.
Up in the new development on Howard.
I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
She works at Hudson. And she said, it was like, because I called her, I texted her to pick up her mower or whatever. She ended up working like a 24-hour shift.
Yeah.
But she said she got paid like enough money because she was all tired.
Yeah, you earn it then. I mean, if you do, because like at Brooklyn, there was no sitting down there. You know, that was, you had everything to do. You had to go up and down steps, you had to give showers, you had to give baths, you had to change people, you had to, where this one here is just, you know, she's just kind of a spoiled little lady and likes people there.
Oh.
And she's 89 years old, so I guess, you know what, if that's the way she wants to spend her money, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it is. But she's no work at all. She's sharp in mind,
Does she really need somebody there all the time?
she does, because she has a tendency now. She did, when I took care of her and her husband, but he died. Then they needed somebody 24/7 because he was a handful.
There ain't Ron Miller's wife, is it?
No. It's Bert Larson. He was the assistant principal up at the school. But then she was okay, and she did stay alone at night. She stayed completely alone at night and for a few hours in the day. But then she fell one night, and she couldn't get back up. And a week later, she had a heart attack.
Oh,
So she's scared to stay alone. I think she could,
yeah.
you know. She's only 4'11", so it's always hard for her to get in bed and out of bed and stuff, because she more or less falls wherever. But she could stay alone if she wasn't afraid. If I was her, I'd be staying alone.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she had one of those necklaces, but she didn't have it on that night she fell. And then a week later, I was staying with her at night, and she had a heart attack. So they kind of want somebody 24/7. You know.
Oh.
She's afraid of falling, which she couldn't get up. They found her on the floor. So it's a lot of money for 24-hour care.
I would imagine.
It is a lot. 20 times 24 is what, $480 a day.
Yeah. Times 365 days.
That's a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah, I don't know. That Brolock, you know, is that state or what?
That is state. And I loved it there. I loved the ladies. I totally loved the ladies. They were, I mean, I had so much fun with those ladies. But they were getting harder, and I'm getting older, and I got so upset with them, I quit. I just quit.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Have a good weekend.
Because you just, it gets, well, you know what, the young people were saying, well, this one won't take a shower for me, and that one, but you know what, they take a shower for me. So a lot of the work really got shoved on me. And then they hired a guy, which is fine, but the women didn't want him to give them a shower. So then you're stuck giving them a shower, and after a while, it's just not fair. It's just not fair.
Some of the people at Brolock, they go out and do stuff.
Oh yeah, they have one house they all work over at ProAct. Some of them don't. I mean, some of them just literally.
Some of them
literally sit there and color during the day, but they call it going to work.
I was in Family Dollar, and they had some people from Brolock in there shopping.
Yep.
And the one guy was buying a pack of cigarettes. I didn't say anything.
Oh really? Because you know, I know they let them smoke under supervision now. They used to let them smoke all the time. Years and years ago, they had one man that stayed up and smoked all night long. George was his name, all night long. And he smoked in the house back then. Of course, now you can't do any of that. You have to, you lock the cigarettes up and you give them one every so often, and then they have to go outside and smoke.
But he must have a driver's license, this one, because we were out at Latin Bar and he was out there.
Yeah, there ain't anybody in Broadlock that's got a driver's license. It might be somebody there's nobody at Broadlock that's got a driver's license. Although, you know what, you might be, I can't say that for sure because they are not, they used to just take in mentally challenged people, but now they're taking in mentally ill people. So there's a possibility that one of them could
This
have.
is quite a few years ago. I reckon
Guy?
it was a guy. Maybe it was just a short term or something.
It could be, because I know they are taking in people with other issues other than mentally challenged. They're taking mentally ill and stuff like that. So, I don't know. You gotta have a place to put them, and I am disappointed in the care people get nowadays.
Yeah.
You can't. You're outnumbered.
Right.
You really are. You're outnumbered. A lot of them just want to put them to bed at 6 o'clock at night, and then let them be there till 10 the next morning. And I always thought, you know what, you could sit and play Crazy 8 with them or something. But
That gets all that.
they love that. And I always took them a treat. Every time I worked 2 to 10, I worked all different shifts. I worked days, I worked afternoons, I worked nights. But when I worked afternoons, I'd always take them up a box of bars or cake mix or something because they'd always want a treat at night and stuff like that. But that's, I did it for a lot of years, 30-some years. I took care of them. And then I've worked other jobs. I worked in the cities for 14 years. And I drove that every day from here.
They moved now, but they came from the cities. They bought a farm out by Lot, by the wedding farm out there. And they just moved because he was getting older, but he took care of Alzheimer's.
Oh, yeah, well, I've taken care of them too.
And he's really, really nice guy. I mean, like calm. And we'd go out to their house quite a bit because he'd had something stupid fall off one more. So we'd run out there and put it on. But he was telling me, like, sometimes they'd be out the window and then he'd make up a story. Like, there's something going on. Look at that car.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it goes from, Alzheimer's is vicious. It goes from anything to, the lady I took care of pretty much lived in the past. She didn't even know her grandchildren. But she always could tell me about her past. She was a farmer's wife, and she said, I'm not baling hay this year. And she'd tell me about the farms and stuff like that. But then I took care of a man that had Alzheimer's, and he thought the place across the road was on fire all the time, which is really hard to deal with somebody like that. Because you got to call the fire department. You got to call, it's burning, So it goes from anything to anything. I mean, the mind is powerful.
My wife's aunt and uncle, they lived behind, or they used to live behind us, but not Dwayne, Brennan used to run a creamery, not Dwayne. But Kathy, he died, and Kathy, her son, transferred up from Missouri to St. Paul for his job. So he lived at the house with her. And she started getting Alzheimer's, and she thought Danny was like 18, and he got his friends over and party.
Yep.
Then when he put her in the home, and she was mad. She thought that Danny was put her in there so he could have parties with his friends.
Yeah.
And then I guess towards the end she got like really violent.
They get towards the very end they get blank. I know this woman I took care of. She usually, you got her put her in a chair and she'd sit there all day. But I know if the place would have caught fire, she'd have sat right in the chair and burned.
Really?
So she had to have somebody there.
Alright, wouldn't be a bad idea.
Well, I stayed with her till she died. I took care of her for 5 years, and I've taken care of people so much. I've taken care of people with Alzheimer's. I've taken care of people that died from just heart attacks and strokes and cancer and everything else. And I think to myself, you don't get to pick how you die, and that's a shame. because I think I'd just like to have a nice pill that I take and it's all over with.
My
'Cause-
father-in-law shot himself. He was 80.
yeah, and you know what? I don't.
But he had congestive heart failure.
Yep. You know what? And I don't. I worked with a gal in the cities, and they called her, and her husband had cancer, and they found him in a Walmart parking lot where he didn't want to make a mess of home, so he shot himself in the car. And I thought, you know what? I really give. I have nothing. It takes a lot of courage,
Mm.
and be damned. You know what? It's. You know what? I think it's okay.
I think at that point,
Yep. I
You
think
know,
it's. I think it's okay.
I think it's stupid for young people, but at the point if you're 80 years old and you're gonna go,
Yeah,
you know,
Now I know a young man, and you're right. I know a young man just out of town that broke up with his girlfriend. He was still in high school, and he tried to commit suicide, but he just blew his face off. He lived. He lived, and that would be sad. But he did make it. The next time he went with carbon monoxide in the garage, because he just shot his face off. Is what he did. I imagine they say that when you pull the trigger, your head comes back, but he went for it the next time, and he did make it the next time.
yeah, that's so. I worked with a guy that
It's a crazy world.
he did that, but he lived, and his face was all messed up.
Yeah.
And my wife's aunt, they live in Kiwani, and Kiwani has their own little hospital, and she was the 11-7 ER nurse at the Kiwani hospital. She's the only one because the town's so little.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her when she retired. I asked her what, any memorable things, and she said nothing ever happened. Kiwani is just a little town, and most time she did like blood draws and stuff for DUIs and stuff. And one time she said the kid walked in and he had a towel on his face, and she's about your size, a little bubbly lady. She goes, can I help you? What's wrong? He goes, I think I made a mistake. She goes, well, what would that be? And he took the thing off his face, and she said you could see his teeth, inside of his jaw and stuff. So she started panicking and put him in the, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Put him in the room and told him to lay down, and then she realized that she was the one that was, panicking, and she had to calm down. So then she got a doctor and got stabilized.
Now I don't know how long you've been in this town or not, but
26 years.
But years ago, I tended bar in this town. I did that too. For 22 years, 23 years, I tended bar in this flipping town.
Where at?
Well, I worked at Sonny's, and I worked at Snowballs, and I worked at the Hub. And whenever I quit there, somebody would call and ask me if I'd come to work for them. And I quit Sonny's because they put the food out in the bar, and I thought, I ain't cooking when I bartend.
You worked with old lady cook then?
Cookie. Yep. I worked with Cookie, and then I said, nope, I don't cook. And at home you can tell them to shut up and eat it, but you can't when you're out in public.
Right.
And I said, I ain't for $7 an hour. I'm not bartending, cooking, and cleaning, and I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So I quit. Well, it was 2 days later, then Snowballs called me and asked me if I'd be interested in working for her, and I worked there for 8 years. And then I worked at the Hub for Lisa Hooper for a couple of years. But, there was a couple out of town here that the kids showed up at the house and said they needed to use the phone, and they murdered them.
Oh, the dice.
Yeah, the Dices.
Yeah.
And I was tending bar at that time, at night. And it was, it was a little scary, because I thought to myself, there's idiots out here. That was before they found out who did it.
Yeah.
And I thought, there are idiots out here that will shoot people for a couple $100.
I think I just moved to town. We moved here in 95, 96.
Yeah, it was the Dices.
And I worked in River Falls at Colpack for
until
2005 when they closed.
Okay.
But I think I was in the maintenance, so we always had newspapers reading about that.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, I actually, I gotta say, you know what? They accused the son of it at first.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah, he's a little odd.
Yep, he was. But I was one of the best friends of his girlfriend,
And
We
her name
rode
was-
horse together, Lynn Clifford.
Yeah, she was younger, wasn't she?
She might have been a little younger, but they were together at the time, so they interrogated both of them. And I rode horse with her and played softball with her, and I talked to her one night, and I shot pool with her too. And she said they were so mean to him, her and Tony. They were so mean because they were sure Tony did it. You know, because he was a gambler.
Right?
And he was a little slow and hot tempered.
Yeah. I know who he is.
Yeah, and they said, oh, he did it, Tony did it, Tony did it.
I got another customer. I've been on jury duty 3 times, and this one particular place, this guy, he was a little bit touched,
Mhm.
and there was a 4-plex all welfare people. And the River Falls police interrogated this guy so hard they brought him in, and they tried to coerce a conviction out of him, and he wasn't biting, and he didn't do anything, and there was no proof, and it was a sexual. It wasn't. He never touched the girl. It was a little fortunate, but we never touched anything. It was like hearsay, and it took us like 15 minutes to deliberate. And it wasn't Wayne at the time. It was the last guy that just.
McEwen.
Huh?
McEwen.
No, it was.
Judge Wing, and then it was McEwen was before what I thought.
He used to be the lawyer with Falls.
Oh, the lawyer. You're talking about. Okay, I think I know who you're
Okay. So I kind of know. I know his niece, and they came in, and we were done deliberating by noon, but they keep you there. You know. And I asked them. I said, they treated this guy wrong, and I said we should have been out of. This. They should have never even brought him into trial.
You know what? And let me tell you, my sister and I go around about that all the time because you should believe all women. She's adamant about that. Women don't lie. And I said, you have a lot to learn.
But I learned a lot about the justice system then, and they treated him so bad. I felt bad for him.
Mm-hmm.
But then, about 5 years later, I used to have a scanner going here, and it came over the police radio. Well, his brother was sitting in the courtroom, and his dad, and they were pretty recognizable people, and their last name was pretty recognizable, and he robbed the bank down in Pepin,
Really?
and because he was homeless.
Okay.
So that's why he needed a place to stay. So he robbed the bank down there. But he came back up 35. He was just driving 55 miles an hour. And the DNR agent got behind him and recognized what car. And so they called him in, waited for the sheriff's department to come. They got him in Pierce County. He was housed out of Pepin. But they asked him why he robbed the bank. He got $5,000. And he didn't do anything. He didn't throw the money away. He was drinking. He said, the reason I robbed the bank is that he had a place to live. So he was in jail for like 5 years.
Because why?
Because he didn't have a place to live. He was homeless.
They come up with any
Well,
excuse. They come up with any excuse you want.
Yeah, this day and age, you don't have to go hungry or whatever.
No, and you're really right. You know that. Well, maybe if you live in
Yeah, but,
California,
you know,
California is a whole
country is
different
awesome
ballgame.
and-
But it's I always maintain that what's wrecked the world is drugs. And that goes for blacks and a lot of whites too. When you get hooked on drugs, you got a problem.
But you start stealing and everything.
Well, yeah, and you start, because I don't know if you ever Google much, but if you want to Google something fascinating, Google Seattle is dying.
So I have a nephew that lives in Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't live. He lives
And
in
it
Lacey,
shows homeless people that are on the main street that have messed their pants and they don't know where they're at. And
Yeah.
and one guy that I saw on this video, homeless in Seattle, his name was Travis Bears or something like that. He took a flippin' nail gun when he was high and nailed his girlfriend's. He killed her.
Yeah.
And they found him in a vat of oil dead. So I mean, if you want to do if you want to do drugs, you just better get ready to pay the price because it's and there's so much bad stuff out there now. These young kids buying this stuff off.
I retired from the bank in here in town.
Okay, I think I remember.
Yeah, and for a while, I worked down at the East End branch, that bank over here. I got robbed there.
We did.
And it was
You work trust over here?
for a couple of years.
Because
I was
So that was during the
So I was hired up at Bank of Elgin back then. And it's been with like 4 more banks since then. But anyway, so it was Kevin Raj. You know the Raj family?
I don't. I can't say that.
And so,
This was during the daytime you got robbed?
oh yeah,
During the
at
day.
the bank, he'd come in and check this out, and then he'd come back in. He asked me about an investment.
Wow.
Anyway, so he was checking things out. He went back out, and he come back in. And there was two other people. One was at the drive up and one was over there working on time cards. We picked them at that time. And so he come to my window and he wanted $10,000. And I'm like, sure you do.
Could've said I do too.
Yeah. We always had training, so I'm trying to
Yeah. Kicked in.
review what we do now. And so if he's just standing there and I'm like, well, I don't see any threat yet. So then he had a heavy, a bulky jacket on. So then he goes like this. Well, he had a gun in his
He did have a gun.
waistband.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, and I didn't want the other two to, overreact or whatever. So they didn't know what was going on. And so then I did my thing. So I sent the alarm. And of course, and I'm like, well, he doesn't know how much 10,000 is. So I did just like bundled ones or whatever. So then he left. And then as soon as he went out the door, I'm like, I'm robbed. So the other one that had her back to me, she ran outside to see where we went, which you're not supposed to do. But anyway, he had parked up the alley by Langer's Hardware. So she saw him get into a truck. And so,
And now
they were there right away. And so then she told Mr. the chief,
Ron Miller.
Ron, but the vehicle was like, he recognized it. So they, and I don't know, well, I suppose they probably went all ways or whatever, but they caught up with him down by Pepin.
Really?
And so the long story short, we had to go to court and whatever, and then
Now, was he a young man or was he an older guy?
he was younger.
He was
Yeah. And so anyway, then so at the hearing, then, I felt like I was on trial because I suppose the DA or whatever had to defend him. So then he's like, well, did you ever see a gun?
Yep.
I'm like, oh, yeah. Like I was dreaming or something. But anyway, after all, then of course, he had to go to jail or prison, whatever. And then he had to do some rehab things. So he had to send me a letter of apology.
Geez, I didn't carry that one.
And so and his excuse was he had a drug bill, and if he didn't pay, they were gonna
That's what I say. Drugs are bad.
shoot him or kill him or take his leg or whatever. And I'm like, wow.
Well, like I was telling him, I attended a bar in town here 22 years, and I had a guy come in one night and he had a big serrated knife. And he pulled it out and he says, what do you think of this? And I knew the guy. I said, well, I'll tell you what I think about that. You're not going to get a drink till you give me the knife. And he did give me the knife.
Oh, good.
But I had 4 guys come in one night looking for a guy, and that was nobody there, but these 4 guys come in and they were going to get this one guy. They were going to whip him and beat him. And I knew right away when they come in because they just surrounded them and and I knew these young boys too because some of them, I've known a lot of kids in town here. And they looked at me and I said, this is the way it works, boys. You're either going to fight or drink, and you don't get to do both. And if you pick the fighting, don't ever come back. So 3 of them went and sat down. And they said, we knew we weren't going to do anything when we saw you, Carol. And I said, well, that's good, Because then the guy called the cops because he was still scared of 4 guys. Which was a smart thing, and you get to know the cops too.
Yeah.
Carol, what's going on? I said, well, you know what? Let's just escort them out. And get them
This town is pretty well, depends on who you are.
Well, it does, but it's pretty, 50 years ago, my mother used to work 3 to 11, and she stopped every night at East End. Every night. She had a 54 Blue Oldsmobile. So that's how long ago this was.
Yeah.
And it was Pete Peterson and Bill O'Brien, and you probably don't know them.
I know Pete.
But they were like Mayberry RFB cops or FD, whatever. Anyway, she had a few beers at East Ender, and when she went to get in her car, she had left the keys in her car. Back then they did. And her car was gone. So later on, they found the car out at the T-bar, but somebody had taken it. But the cop sat right here at the end of the street, And they let the guy go because they thought it was Mom and she had a few too many beers and she backed all the way down and then went to T-Bar. But they thought it was Mom, so they said, well, Helen's had a couple too many beers. And they let the guy go. You know, but they found the car out at T-Bar and it was, she came out the door and the car was gone.
Like 10 years ago or so, me and my neighbor used to walk down to the bars uptown. And it was always in the fall, so I had a hooded sweatshirt. So we'd always take a beer with us, and I'd take a beer in my hooded sweatshirt, and I put it in the flower pot in front of the ambulance barn. And so then we go out drinking uptown, and then on the walk home, I'd stop to pick my beer up in the flower pot. And so we left, and we cut through Sonny's or Just Cause or whatever, out to the alley, close to the ambulance barn, and a fight broke out while we were on the walk home. And I grabbed my beer out of the ambulance, out of the flower pot, and we got walking just a little bit, and the cops were all over. And I seen the cop coming, and I took a sip of my beer and I put it by the stop sign, and the cop pulled up and he goes, "Pick that up, I'm going to get you for littering." So I got a full can of beer. So they're like, "There's a fight in the parking lot. You guys are the ones. We don't have nothing." So they go, "Get in the back seat of the car." So they drive us through, so the people they can ID us for the people. And whoever it was, they said, "No, it's not that." So then they're like, "Jump back in the car," and we're all over looking for two guys, but there's two of us in the back seat. And here I have my full beer. And they're like, "Well, we're going to take you guys home because we don't want any trouble, or whatever." And I live across the street from Great Place. And my neighbor,
That was convenient.
my neighbor lives next door. He lives next to Greg on the other side. And they're like, "Where do you guys live?" And I go, "Take us to your boss's house." And he turns around. He goes, "What?" I said, "Take us to your boss's house." Drops off. I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, we did."
No, I just think those are the good old days.
And they were, the cops got out of the car to talk to people at Sonny's or whatever, and interview them or ask them questions or whatever. And I'm sitting in there, and this is like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting there drinking my beer in the backseat of a squad car. My buddy,
Do that.
my buddy, he's like, he's got tattoos, he's got sleeves, he looks like a bad. He's like, just like pushover. He goes, "We're never getting out of this squad car. He goes, "We're going to jail." I go, "For what? We didn't do anything." And, I'm just sitting there drinking my beer.
Drinking your beer.
And I'm like, "What are they going to do?" I said, "We're just walking home."
Yeah.
I'll get a ticket for
Open
open container,
Container.
$60 or whatever.
It won't hurt your driver's license and everything,
And then when we said drop stop at Greg's house, huh? They did.
Well, I mean, I just sit back and I had a lot of nights at bartending I had two big guys. I mean, they were bulls. I mean, the one guy, they said it took 4 guys to hold him when he got mad at his wife.
Mhm.
And the other guy believed the only good cop was a dead cop and women shouldn't have any rights.
Mhm.
And they were huge. I mean, these men were big. And they got into an argument one night.
Oh.
And you know what? I snickered. I stood behind the bar and I thought, I ain't even going to try to break this one up. I thought, I want to see who wins. And you know what? They didn't fight.
Oh,
I learned one thing bartending. All the years of bartending, I can tell you one thing. When most people fight, they usually measure up their prey. Can I beat him or can't I? And these
Sure.
two guys were huge, and they were bulls. And when they got into an argument, I stood behind that bar, and I almost had a smile on my face, thought, I ain't stopping this one. I thought, I ain't going to lose teeth for either one of those boys. And they never did fight. They were close to going outside.
I always found that the biggest guys, they're like the calmest. Like, I got a friend that's like 6'4", and just, he's 400 pounds.
Yeah.
And the little little short guys, they're the ones that like to pick on, people. And these big guys, they just look down at them.
Well, I had a guy that used to come in the bar, loved him, we called him Rambo. He's the one that had the serrated knife. He's dead now. But, he'd come in on Sunday. I worked Sunday for the football games. He'd come in and say, Carol, did I get in a fight last night? I said, I don't know, Rick. I didn't work. He says, I heard all over. He says, I must have got in a fight. And then people would start coming to watch football game. He'd say, do I owe anybody any money? And I mean, he was, we loved him. We totally loved him. I mean, it was just, he was, I don't know, I took him
Wouldn't
home
you
one.
think that would straighten him up?
Oh, no, Rick, he
Yeah,
never had a
remember when
he
he did?
never had a driver's license. And I asked him
Oh.
one time, I said, Rick, how come you never had a driver's license? People like me should never drive a car. And they said one time they were working on Main Street. This is no lie. I heard it from numerous people. They had a road smoother or a road roller or whatever. They had it parked up by the library. And somebody bet Ricky couldn't get it started. And that flipping guy got that. He got it started and drove it down the street. And of course he had to go to jail. And he says, yeah, they fined me for that one, but nobody thought I could get it started. And I did get it started. And here's Rick going down with the road roller. And I had more than one people tell me that. And he said it was hilarious because he drove it right down the street because he did do construction work, you know. And he says, yeah, he says, they took me to jail that time and I had to pay a fine. But he says, I got it started. I mean, we used to just laugh at him. He wasn't, you know, he was an okay guy. And we wouldn't let him drink Windsor. It was always, he could only have Budweiser. And then if nobody was around, he'd say, Carol, can I have just one Windsor? One Windsor. I said, okay, Rick, you can have one Windsor. But he was funny. He'd bite the bar. He'd smash the chips. He just was a fright. You could write a book when you bartended 22 years.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Oh, you could. Yeah, I had guys.
We used to go out to Lawton all the time. I didn't live in town here. We lived between River Falls and River Falls and Hudson. And we had to go to Lawton when I was kids. And
Got a dog in the car.
and they had a pumpkin, and it was 50 cents to put away the pumpkin. And so every time I'd get to go to the bathroom, I'd throw 50 cents in the thing and put, a little thing in there. I didn't know when the drawing was. I guess I didn't pay no attention. So the next morning, I'm in the shower, and my girlfriend, or my wife now, but she answers the phone, and she's like, Matt, it's the telephone. I go, who is it? She goes, it's Jerry from Lawton. I was like, what did I do? I'm like, what did I do? And I'm like, where's my wallet? And it took a while before I got on the phone, so I thought I was got in a fight or trouble. And all of a sudden, he goes, Matt. I go, yeah. He goes, Jerry. Lawton. I go, yeah. What's up? You know. He goes, that pumpkin. He goes, you want it within 8 ounces.
Yeah, I was down in Belleville. They had a bar named Hitching Post one
Yeah,
night.
I remember that.
And they had live music that night, and they bet a guy. They'd give him they'd give him $100 if he'd streak through the bar. And the bathrooms were kind of in the back, and then he was going to undress in the bathroom and run out the door. And you know what they did to him? They locked the damn door. So he comes out of the bathroom naked, running like a jackrabbit. The darn door is locked. He can't get it. I mean, you got it. You could just write a book. I mean, it's just the stuff they do is. Some of it's terrible, and some of it
would be ours.
Some of it is. Some of it is what it is.
My buddy Jerry Lynn ran over. He was walking from the Bighorn to Hitching Post. He was walking across the street, and Doug Kirshner, they were the same age. Doug, they got a whole, there's like 10 kids in that
They have a lot of kids.
Well, Jerry was dating Doug's sister, I can't think of her name. And he was walking across the street, and Doug came through the building at about 70 miles an hour and hit Jerry. Jerry over the top of the car.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm glad my kids are growing up. One drinks a little bit, but not much, and the other doesn't drink at all. And I mean, you know what? I don't have nothing. I mean, obviously, I attended bar 22 years, you know. But I've seen a lot. But anyway, okay. Are the keys in it?
Yep, and it's fine out there. Whenever you come back.
Okay. Well, they're gonna come, but it's just they got to come from Hastings. So.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Matt.
Yep, you bet.
Thanks for the tales.
Yeah. Don't you wish they'd listen to us older people sometimes?
I gave up on that.
Although I think
Years
sometimes
ago.
they're worse today than they were years ago. I don't
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
I was just gonna say,
No.
so the blade charge, was that just the Chevy? The new blade?
New blade for the push mower.
Oh, the push mark. Okay,
And then
well, that
the air
makes sense.
The air filters for the driver.
Okay,
And then everything was good to go.
okay. Well, good. Maybe I'll do better trimming.
Yeah, the blades on the rider then need new ones next year.
Okay.
but they're fine.
Okay. Well, they're kind of hard on them.
Yeah, you hit, looked like you were,
I got lots of rocks.
lots of mud too. So I had to use the air chisel to get the deck clean. Looked like you were mowing in the.
And I made sure, when I bought that one, I made sure I got the water deck, or
Oh.
whatever you call it, but I don't do it.
Yeah,
You'd have to do it every time to keep up,
Yes.
wouldn't you?
I think so.
Okay. And then the other thing, I have a problem with the water hose, the sprayer. So I'm gonna have that checked out, so maybe that would work better.
Just mow when it's dry.
That would help. Yeah, I kinda try to do that. So do you do the tin work?
Yeah, the
What do you
stuff.
call that, yeah?
Yeah, I have a CNC plasma table. The big butterfly that's out here.
Yes,
Yeah, I make them, but I make a smaller version. And I sold 70 of them last year. They're about this big. That was a screw up, but I don't want to sell it because it's a screw up in I've been offered to sell it 5-6 times, but it's not perfect. But no, I do the butterfly, I do a dragonfly, but I don't paint. I do horse. I got to do a goose for Goose Creek for John Roscoe.
oh, sure,
His daughter's bought 4 butterflies from me.
okay.
Um,
The horse is pretty. So like, the horse, how much is that?
I think that's $45.
Okay.
I don't do the flat
gift item.
stuff. I don't do the flat stuff too much anymore because it doesn't sell that well.
So that you call flat?
Yeah. I do the 3D stuff more. Here's the.
I'll just keep it in mind for gift items.
There's the butterflies. That's a dragonfly there.
Sure.
I did this one that was a special order for Becky Bert Hoyer's mom,
Oh,
Peggy Hoyer.
yes.
The red, white, and blue one.
Yeah, oh,
Um,
of course.
and I do a tricycle because that's all part on.
Oh, that is cute. Do you ever do any
Chicken.
clothes?
No, we haven't.
Good morning. I have a daughter-in-law that
There's
just,
a horse that I sold that to Rusty's Mooney Horse Bar. Or it's in Spring Valley. It's
Okay.
it's in the bar. They bought that from a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's
But we haven't. And there's a dinosaur. That's in the library down in La Crosse.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's where this one went. Isn't it?
There's one, I don't remember. I know one who went to there.
I think it's that one. And there's the T-Rex is a little bit different.
Mhm.
Up at the liquor store on the corner, they have one of Ice Machine. So yeah, I think that one dinosaur we took across.
There's one that went to lacrosse, and there's
And there's one in Madison. And
Oh,
a
no,
couple
it's in
down in
Madison.
Hager.
So are you open when they do the cheese curds?
Yes and no. They kind of screw me on that because they block off, so there's no access here.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So you'd have to do a separate
yeah,
stand or whatever.
yeah. See, we did it last year before the 2019. They had it like they had it. So it was
It
one.
was a drive-through thing.
No, it was that was the year before everything was drive through.
Okay.
So what they did is they had
no parking on the side.
they had no parking on this side of the road, but they had parking on like up over there on that side by the park and all that. They had all parking up there.
They made it so nobody could cross the street. And so we couldn't. And then people were turning around my parking lot, so I have to block it off. But they just make it so there's no access to this side of the street.
Sure.
And then people.
Well, it's less hazard.
They want $200 to sell across the street.
No, yeah, if you pay early, it's like $150 or something. If you pay like late, it's like $25-$50 more.
But
Yeah.
that's a lot of money. I can go down there's a big showdown in southern Minnesota, 3 days, and it's $60. And you live down there, sleep down there, and you can sell the sky's the limit.
But then there's even like bigger craft shows, and like you said, there's that one in Stillwater at the fairgrounds.
You know, you get a lot of them people, like around here, people are pretty cheap. When you get up to like the cities, or, you know, Stillwater and stuff, people spend money.
Okay. Well, it's awesome. Keep it up. Thank you, and
Yes.
I'll probably call you around November instead of waiting till
Okay.
the rush.
All right.
As long as I know, and then I didn't think about you said the stabilizer you add, which is good for the,
Just for the gas. Make sure you're using non-ethanol premium, you know.
okay. I'm getting gas now, so
Yeah, Cenex has it, and so does BP or whatever,
is that, what number is that
the
then?
91 or whatever.
Oh,
But
Yeah.
that's the only two stations that have the premium.
so non-ethanol.
Yeah, it's premium, but you're paying a little more, but you're getting like a little better gas in your things.
Oh, yeah,
It's no alcohol.
It doesn't like gum up. Basically, it doesn't like gum up like your machine and
but it's
carburetor.
a
and all that.
91.
91 or 92.
No, it's 91. I think it's 91. Yeah.
Cenex has it, and that's where I get gas for like stuff around here.
Okay, that's where I'm going.
And then if I'm at home, since we live on South Maple, I get gas at the BP.
Oh, sure.
I used to get it at the liquor store, but they don't have gas anymore. But yeah, I use the Cenex gas. And, but yeah, you don't want to use the ethanol based.
Okay.
Not you can use it in your car, but not in the lawnmower.
Yeah. And I guess I didn't know that, so I'll try that.
All right.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Have a good summer.
Hi, Fox.
But anyways, what's going on now? What is
I
it?
print out a return label for it,
For what?
that cable,
Why?
because I didn't need it.
Hearing how you
Don't open it.
No, I didn't.
What?
Or I thought you keep every single other part.
It was $31.
Oh, but also, wondering if you, yeah, but also you're right, kind of right though. 'Cause you have a bunch of people over there that you never used to, right? No. That one, yeah, you might be going. But you must have gotten like Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, does Amazon let you return it? The only thing though, it's probably gonna have to go like UPS or something, isn't it?
No cable.
Yeah, I know that, but Amazon always wants everything to ship UPS when they back them. The Amazon gives you the free label, don't they? That's what I mean. It's like the last time I remember you bought something that could have gone like post office for like $2, but they want it back like UPS. They do. No, they have that little I know they have that little drop box you can throw it into, you know, right? Because it's in like a little bubble mail or something, so it should be okay. Put in there, you know, should be. But your other person.